Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello, welcome back.
So, guys, we have so much craziness going on in this world. It's like a roller coaster ride that keeps spinning up, and people are maybe starting to get a little nauseous.
Yeah, that looks like a pretty bad boo-boo.
Yeah, and we had so much major infrastructure issues going on. We see here I-16 highway in the state of Georgia, been on that many times, blocked after truck hits overpass and literally shifted the bridge by 6 feet.
Wow.
I didn't know. Well, I'm a little surprised, honestly. I mean, of course, you can see the size of the truck in the back there. 2 major highways in Georgia have been blocked after a dump truck struck an overpass and shifted it by 6 feet. May take up to 10 days to fully reopen the I-16 interstate. Tractor trailers backed up for miles Thursday after a dump truck smashed into the State Highway 86 bridge over I-16, moving it by 1.8 meters, according to the Georgia Department of Transportation. And this incident took place about halfway between Savannah and Macon. I-16 shut down. So, I gotta just mention it. I know there's going to be minds that go, was that an accident or was that a accident?
Yeah.
Accident. You know what I mean? Or is this something totally different? Is this actually, again, infrastructure shutting down one of the main thoroughfares? If you're in Savannah and you want to go inland, this is one of the ways you're going to go. I did live in Savannah for a little while. And again, when you think about, again, covert warfare or the possibility of covert warfare, sabotaging, trial runs, so that when it really did hit the fan, boom, you would have, maybe 200 or 2,000 incidents like this that could really shut down traffic or divert people to flow into a different area. It definitely would be a problem for supply lines. It definitely can cause all sorts of problems for, military activity on the inside if it was necessary, or policing activity on the inside. And that's a suspicious side of me looking at this and saying, it to me, it hits me as it could be one of those two things. Maybe it's just a pure accident. Maybe he was just doing a triple shift or something. Now, they decided, here you see, the 7-mile stretch of the interstate was closed for traffic in both directions. The DOT said contractors have proposed demolishing the bridge, which would allow them to reopen one lane of the interstate in each direction by Saturday. Demolition will continue during the following week, so I-16 could fully open by July 24th. This would, of course, leave that stretch of Highway 86 blocked until a new overpass could be built whenever it happens. So right off the bat, anybody out in that area, and I'm sure there is, are there any army bases over there, any military bases over there? I'm just curious. Look at this.
Wow.
Kind of crazy. I haven't seen anything like that before where the whole thing, I mean, you could see the big gap there.
It just shoved that thing right over. I'm really surprised too. Wow.
Yeah, some people suggested running another truck on the other side and maybe pop it back into place.
Right. Well, there you go.
But then we've seen the buildings collapse as well, and how much life that could take. And of course, remember the bridge collapse in DC. Remember the bridge over on the Mississippi. We could go on and on and on. There's been a lot of curious accidents, guys.
I know little infrastructure issues, or big infrastructure issues,
And, I want to mention this right off. We were going to put out another video, but we got a little too explicit and speaking, just a little bit straighter than normal. So we just threw it only on Brighteon, even though Brighteon itself is definitely compromised too, unfortunately. But we'll be finding other venues. So there's one video that only went on Brighteon. It was listed to Ko-Fi because in this world as well, you have to watch what you're saying because there's certain powers that don't allow certain subjects to be talked about. And we see 66% of Republicans in the southern U.S., and nearly half of the West Coast Democrats want to leave the country as division grows.
Mhm.
That is a massive statement, and that's exponential growth.
Well, that's a really huge headline to have things. It's a big seed to plant. That's what I'm gathering from this. It's a huge seed to plant in people's subconscious.
Okay, well, yeah, you could take it that way. I could take it also as the fact that people are tired of the direction the country's taking to such a degree now that they're ready to give up on it, and feel that you're never gonna make this marriage work.
Right.
And it's true, because it's amazing. We deal with it too when we talk to people from all over the country every single day. And even the people that are awake view things a little differently. You could tell. I mean, there's such a difference from talking to somebody in Texas to talking to somebody, on the West Coast, for instance. It's just night and day. And this is what I feel and have felt is inevitable. I also think it's part of the plan, but it's part of the plan that perhaps has to happen from both the good and bad guy perspectives, so to speak, the white hats and the dark hats. But we need to recognize that the white hats, from a geopolitical standpoint, they're gray hats.
Mm-hmm.
Recognize that it's gray. It might not be as dark gray that's bordering on black in some, but it's still gray. And what civil war revolution has ever permanently fixed any country? Not in the system.
Mm-mm.
And this system's been around for thousands of years, maybe more than that, maybe way, way more than that, even though we have had these restarts where we are. And I did one of my first videos I ever did, I titled that humanity is a species with amnesia. We don't understand where we come from. We just don't. Most of us don't have a clue. As we talked about the Bhagavad Gita and Krishna saying to Arjuna the day before a fight that he didn't want to do, the difference between me and you is I remember my past lives and you don't. And that's huge, because when we don't remember history, we don't even know history because we've been given so many lies. Then how could we counteract it without knowing the mistakes that we're making again?
Well, I think, purposefully they do cover up a whole lot of our history so that we can't go back and understand things the way, well, it wouldn't benefit them if we knew the truth. So that's what they do. They spend a lot of time altering books and, giving them their story.
Mm-hmm. This says a lot here. Amid political division, constant culture wars, two-thirds of Republicans in the southern U.S. and almost half of West Coast Democrats want to secede from the country. They want to get out, form their own nation, according to a new poll. And in total, 44% of Southerners support secession, 66% of Republicans expressing a desire for the South to part ways with Washington. Half of Southern independents also expressed support for secession, as did 20% of Democrats in the region. And I have to look up the numbers. I wonder what the numbers were, say, in 1860 or 1859, before the Civil War happened. Over on the West Coast, which includes Alaska and Hawaii, there was less desire to break away, with a total of 39% of Americans expressing support for secession. But here the Democrats were the most likely to want to secede at 47%, followed by independents, a third, and Republicans, 27%. So very, very interesting numbers and odds. And of course, if there was a different person in the White House, the numbers would be different. That's obvious. Though the South and West Coast were the two U.S. regions with the most desire to break free, numbers were also high in the rest of the country. In the Northeast United States, 34% of Americans say they want to secede from the Union. Democrats and independents at 39 and 35% respectively, while 25% of Northeastern Republicans felt the same. Meanwhile, around one-third of Americans in the mountain states want to break off from the U.S., Republicans at 43%, independents at 35%, Democrats at 17%. Brightline Watch, who did part of the survey here, described the numbers as distressingly high. Christopher Ingraham, which is a data journalist, called it the most disturbing data point I've seen in a while. So this is just major statement as you look at that. And also in the heartland, you see the percentages there: 34% of Republicans, 43% of independents, and 18% of Democrats. Is it salvageable? It doesn't look it. And at the same time, I think you do have to break things down before things can be built up in a totally new sense.
You do. When you have a huge mess to clean up, you really need to pull everything out and take a look at everything that you have. But the only way to do that is to pull everything out of the nooks and crannies and put it in front of you and analyze what you have so you can put it together. So yeah, everything gets worse before it gets better.
The most notable secession in U.S. history took place in the 1860s when the southern states of South Carolina, Mississippi, Florida, Texas, Alabama, Virginia, Louisiana, Georgia, Tennessee, Arkansas, and North Carolina broke off and formed the Confederate States of America, sparking the American Civil War. Will we see a repeat, guys? That's my question for you. What do you guys think? Do you think we're going to see a repeat? Would the federal government, if these other states broke off, try to stop it? Would the federal government call in outside powers to help? Let's think about that. Or, because in the Revolutionary War, France helped the states against England, right? And same thing, could happen again. Could there be outside influence? Perhaps the UN. Could the UN be called in some way, shape, or form? Massive trust gap splits America. And when we look at what do we have faith in as far as institutions, well, right now, the Democrats, the presidency, 49% of them have faith in it. And to the right side, it's the police at the top with 45%. 27 Democrats as far as newspapers, and organized religion on the right, plus 25, and then the military on the right at plus 16, and public schools on the Democratic side, plus 23. So you could see, the thought process is not even close to the same. Not even close to the same. And of course, we know if there was a different person in the White House, the presidency for the Democrats would be much, much lower. That's obvious. So it's so interesting to see just how it feels so complete, how this divide is. And, it's just, it's amazing to see how fast it's progressing, because it really is progressing fast. But there again, 2024. There was agendas that we've talked about, in 2021 and 2030. And then 2024, there's going to be a big election. If you could catch what I'm saying. Puppets on strings. Everything it's all a big marionette show. California approves $35 million plan for nation's first state-funded guaranteed income program. Wow. So there you go, right? I mean, this is part of where the states totally differ. Meanwhile, on the global stage, we have Russia scrambling 4 fighter jets as U.S. Air Force B52H bombers fly over the Bering Sea heading towards the Russian border. Every day it seems to be another thing like this, another incident like this, and accidents or the accidents could happen at any time. Yeah, so this was released by the Russian Ministry of Defense. 4 fighter planes escorting 3 U.S. Air Force B-52 bombers over the waters of the Bering Sea on Thursday, heading towards the country's airspace. So 4 planes, 2 MiG-31s and 2 Su-35s were scrambled to escort the aircraft. Poking and prodding. It's craziness that governs this world. Boy, can you imagine if we were in a system that was being led by beings more along the lines of like a Yeshua or a Buddha or some of the ancient sages? We wouldn't have all this chaos. Why are we, choosing to go along with everything that we see here? And a lot are choosing to speak up about it, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more on an upcoming video that we're going to do on Evolutionary. U.S. military flying plane loads of illegal immigrants around America in secret. There's different agendas going on than what should be going on. So people that get caught crossing the border in Texas or Arizona or New Mexico, California, they could end up in Alabama, they could end up in Georgia, they could end up in many different places. Something feels very, very wrong about that, doesn't it? Why? And when we look at so many of the photos of the immigrants coming in, yes, we do see some of a little bit older people or kids. Seems like an awful lot of them are in the prime of their life as far as age group goes. The type of age group that gets, gets drafted. Yeah. When you have a draft. And if you're shuffling people around the country, and if only, 1, 2, 5, 10% of them maybe have had some certain types of training and skills, and maybe are being put in place, as I've shared with you guys, 2016. I got the strong wording from my guides that were watching a Trojan horse operation in progress. Sure, yep, there are some families with kids and stuff like that in there, but man, there's an awful lot of them that are of a certain age. And there again, there's a lot of interesting things going on at the same time around us. So Moscow, U.S. envisioning a color revolution scenario for Cuba as we got protests erupting across Cuban cities again, thousands taking to the streets to demand free elections and the resolution of social issues. In response, government and Communist Party supporters held their own march. So, here again, one side's pointing to the other side saying you're interfering in this and trying to basically, cause an insurrection and a change in leadership that will be inclined towards the other way. U.S. military once trained Colombians implicated in Haitian assassination plot, Pentagon says. Wow. Well, that gets me thinking about these people that are getting shuffled all over the country. How many of them have been trained as well by either side? So some of the former Colombian servicemen arrested after last week's assassination of Haitian President previously received U.S. military training, according to the Pentagon. Wow. Yeah, it's the apocalypse, though. So what does that mean? Well, it means all will be revealed. Review of our training databases indicates that a small number of the Colombian individuals detained as part of the investigation have participated in past U.S. military training and education programs while serving as acting members of the Colombian military forces. And then recruitment happens as well. It's just part of everything being exposed, so to speak. And we have absolute chaos in South Africa, which many have said is this the ultimate vision that certain powers that be have for the U.S. and perhaps globally as it descends into, I don't know what you would really call it, civil war, revolution, just chaos, ultimate chaos. So they're bringing in 25,000 troops to try to handle this, as we have seen just absolute chaos. What we're seeing in South Africa. So they bring in the military to lock it down, or to attempt to lock it down. And things taking a while to load. Our internet's been so incredibly spotty, either super fast or super weird. And this is going to be showing a nuclear reactor in Belgium, which has been shut down for a possibility of a leak. And we're waiting to hear anything more about that. And again, I have to question why we have any nuclear energy going on as we've gotten from the galactics. It's not something they like at all. Meanwhile, the weapons manufacturing keeps going on to all new degrees, as we see might kind of look like a mini tank. Yeah, so this is out of Army times. Army scientists are developing the next tank that's not a tank. No, it's basically a drone. As we go towards basically full automation at some point, and then it's going to be awfully scary, like Terminator, right? And like RoboCop, and you know, then what's going to happen when people are taken to the streets protesting, and there's massive armies of drones that are deployed to quell the uprising and the unrest?
Well, yeah, because they need entities and things that are just going to follow orders, because humans are evolving and they're not so easily, well, they're not always going to follow orders.
No, as the great apocalypse, the great unveiling, the great awakening happens, more people are going to realize that they've been playing a shell game in which they can't win. And so that will cause them to step outside of the system and say, I'm no longer participating in that. And then that's when, all this will be to that high enough degree that it won't matter from the powers that be perspective. But still, we do have allies on very, very high places. 45 reported dead. Actually, last I saw now was 47. Dozens missing after houses collapse in Germany due to extreme flooding. The events in Germany, incredible, but we saw the same in China. We saw it in Beijing. We've seen it all over the globe. Many, many people missing. You got rivers in 15 locations that are at their highest warning level. They haven't seen a disaster like that in this area. There are dead, there are missing, there are so many that are still in danger. It's just a mess. And then also, just again, think about food supply, think about crops, think about people's lives and livelihoods, people's homes washed away. It's incredible. Incredible in France as well. Floods, landslides, mudslides also in Switzerland and in the Netherlands as well. So this is really happening on a global scale, or you got the exact opposite going on. It's pick your poison, floods or wildfires. And we see over here, we see it's burning like hell, mega fire in Oregon and 60 wildfires in 10 US states, 800,000 hectares of forest destroyed so far in Siberia. The world is a burning torch. Well, half of it's a burning torch, the other half is being flooded away. It's incredible, really, and we've talked to so many people out in the West Coast too, that they are smelling smoke constantly now.
Right, and it just goes to show again, like how out of balance, the nature really is. It's so sad. It's just so sad.
I had shared with you guys a long time ago that I'm a history buff, and I recognize that it's his or her or their story that we're given, but still, I've always been into studying and following things, and I noticed that there's a correlation between disasters and times of war. It just seems that it's almost like a karmic law that comes into effect. And a lot of the world's greatest natural disasters occur at times when there's major war going on, major conflict. Again, it's all about vibration frequency, and the planet is alive. Each one of us should be living in a symbiotic relationship as a cell in that being, and yet the system has us acting and behaving like a virus or a cancer. Officials warn heat wave could kill nearly all the young endangered salmon in the Sacramento River, and it just goes on and on with the die-offs. The red tide situation in Florida keeps getting worse. Here we have new activity unrest at 6 more volcanoes. So it does seem like everything is just going up to an all new level. And there was a explosion on the far side of the sun that was so powerful we could feel it on Earth, even though it was heading in the wrong direction.
Wow.
And they don't have an explanation for it. It's heading away from us, and somehow we got blasted by it. Well, we need to have more satellites up there. Maybe Elon could put another 30 or 40,000 satellites up there to help the Draco reptilian cause.
Sure you could.
And to be ready for when the GF comes. Yeah, and of course, we still have the people that are so indoctrinated in a fundamentalist point of view that they think that there's nobody else out there, that things like the GF, the galactic FEDERATION is just an illusion or a front. No, it's actually real. It's actually real, and Cindy was getting that you're going to be seeing beings very soon. And so, total disclosure with a twist is basically very, very. I mean, they've already told us. If we're listening, they've already told us. So here again, this CME was heading directly away from us. Now, for the interesting part, although the explosion occurred on the far side of the sun, it still peppered the Earth with high energy particles. And many people are feeling tired when the energy comes in because it does cause evolution.
Yeah.
And this is, again, where you throw out the baby with the bathwater, because many recognize that Charles Darwin was a 33rd degree Mason, so he's part of the system. But that doesn't mean there's no evolution. It just means that Darwinian evolution is, again, them telling us the truth, but giving us a twist, which is a lie, in order to get some to say, I don't believe in that, I'm throwing the whole thing out, and others to go along with it and completely believe it. This is, again, part of that division. Meanwhile, millions of ladybugs are invading Russian beaches in droves.
Wow.
I don't know if I mean, I like ladybugs, but I don't know if I want them crawling in and out of my nose or my ears.
I wouldn't want that, no.
Millions and millions and millions.
Wow.
But, this is, again, part of what we're seeing. So, guys, stay healthy, stay strong. Check out Medicinal Foods. They got some great stuff over there. And when you do order from them using our link that we put on every video, it does support the channel and help us to keep doing this in days of censorship. Yeah. Stay strong. We're definitely, we're riding a wave, so to speak. We're riding perhaps the beginning of a tsunami wave. That's going to rewrite everything on the planet in a global way. Ultimately, it's a beautiful thing because the change that's coming is absolutely more than needed.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely. And as we've said many times, you can't put a Band-Aid on an amputated limb and think it's going to work.
Right.
We have to have total change, and we are seeing the beginnings of that total change. But again, be prepared, especially spiritually. Take it easy on your body. Clean out your system. Detox every single day. It is so important. This is the number one thing we're getting from them. And the guides are telling us you got to take care of yourself physically. There's events coming around the corner that are going to most definitely try and test us. So be as prepared as possible. Plant a tree today. Plant a fruit tree today. Turn your lawn into a food growing zone. Your own food growing zone. Work with neighbors to do the same. And just get ready mentally, spiritually, physically, every single way for what's to come. Because ultimately, we're going to get out of this system, and then we will start to manifest heaven on earth.
Yes, indeed.
As always, guys, God bless and namaste.
Namaste.